Throughout my time doing Dark Souls challenge runs, I would constantly get asked, when will I do Dark Souls 3? Or when will you do Dark Souls 2? And when I would do those games, I would then get asked, when will I return to Dark Souls 1? So instead of doing all these games individually, I figured I would make everyone happy by doing all of them at the same time. Which leads to us here today with me beating all 3 games back to back while only leveling intelligence. With that said, let's get into the rules for this run. Rule number 1, I can only level intelligence and no other stats. Rule number 2, no summons except for the frigid outskirts to help get to the boss. And last but not least, rule number 3, I must beat all bosses in every single game. That's a total of 92 bosses, which still doesn't even come close to Elden Ring's base game, funny enough. Either way, with the rules done with, let's get this extremely long adventure started. Of course, to start this run, I go with Dark Souls 1 and name my character Logan because it wouldn't be an intelligence run if I wasn't playing a half-naked character with a wizard hat. For the class, I of course went with the Sorcerer for its high intelligence, and more importantly, its 15 in attunement, which gives me 3 spell slots. Starting off my adventure, I do the most important step in this run. Take off all my clothes besides my hat. I then ran into Oscar, who was so happy to see a half-naked hollow man in front of him that he gave me some free orange juice for my adventure. Orange juice in hand, I walked off a ledge to stab a demon in the face with my dagger. You might be thinking, dagger? That's not a spell. And you would be correct, dear viewer. Even though this is an intelligence-only run, I will be allowed to use other resources besides sorceries. But throughout this run, I did try to mainly use sorceries for damage. After poking the demon in the face, I just blasted the thick fella from behind until it brought him to his knees. Some demons just don't have the stamina to last more than 30 seconds. With the Asylum demon not satisfying my fighting urge, I made my way to Undead Settlement to buy the Residence Key, did a little bit of parkour, and rescued Griggs. Rescuing Griggs will allow me to now have access to stronger spells like Heavy Soul Arrow and Great Soul Arrow, but they aren't cheap and currently I am a broke bitch. So I hopped on over to the New Londo Ruins and the Valley of Drakes to pick up some souls, and while there, I nabbed me a Firekeeper soul and the Red Tearstone ring. With me being a semi-broke bitch, I proceeded to buy Heavy Soul Arrow and Fall Control. I could have gone with Great Soul Arrow, but I wanted to try and use as many different spells as possible. With that done, I headed through the Valley of Drakes to get to Darkroot Basin to get the Grass Crest Shield. I do not have the strength to use it, but I could still equip it for the stamina regain. After collecting the shield and some souls, I leveled my intelligence to 21. Once done leveling, I saved Lothric to kill the bastard for his ring. I need it more than he does. From here, it's time to take on the second boss of this run, the Bell Gargoyles, who were so kindly enough to get my HP low enough for RTSR to activate. Definitely wasn't me fucking up dodge rolls. Nope, can't beat that. Thanks to their help, and for the fact that Heavy Soul Arrow stuns them upon impact, we had no issues killing each other at the same time. It's as they say, teamwork makes the dream work. With the Gargoyles' help, I had enough souls to get Great Soul Arrow, Magic Weapon, and get my intelligence to 24. I figured at this point I would be ready for the Capra Demon, but upon trying to unlock the shortcut, the dogs and thieves decided that was not okay, and generously put me out of my misery because they knew of the horrors of doing this run in Dark Souls 2, and were just trying to stop me from making that horrible mistake. But sadly for them, they could not keep my half-wizard naked ass from making it to Dark Souls 2. Once I got the shortcut, it was time for the Capra Demon. I wish I had the luxury of beating him on my first try, but the damn dog's head got stuck in my chest and kept me from running away like the chicken leg wizard that I am. Luckily, on my second attempt, I would get my revenge on the dogs and happily shoot the Capra Demon from up top, but that's just a bit boring, so I did my best at a 360 no-scope to finish him off. Remember, I said attempt, I didn't say it was good. Defeating the Capra Demon, I can now rescue Laurentius and take on the Gaping Dragon because why not? What my high intelligence but low IQ character forgot was that there was a Chancellor up top that can snipe you, which added a bit of spice to the fight, but even with the help of the Gaping Dragon's moveset, it was so easy to manipulate that I had no issues blasting his face off. After killing the giant pussy dragon, I leveled my intelligence to 37, to which sadly doesn't help with IQ, and made my way to Firelink Shrine to get the Pyromancy Flame from Laurentius. I look forward to the comments complaining about Power Within. I did this just for y'all. At this time, I wanted to get the Bellowing Dragon Crest ring, but was a wee bit shy of 20k, so I ran on over to the Taurus Demon to use Magic Weapon on a +0 dagger, simply to spice things up, and as expected, it didn't do crazy damage. Oh wait, never mind, the dagger speed made up for that. Sadly, the Taurus Demon only gives 3,000 souls, so for old time's sakes, I hit up my dealer, the Red Drake, to get some extra cash. Once having the souls, I bought the ring for more damage. With all that done, I was ready for Blighttown, and y'all can already guess the first thing I did when coming here. Fucking die trying to get the Pyromancy Flame the long way, when I could have just killed the weird bug thing from a distance on my first attempt. Who would have thought low IQ would have made this challenge run harder? After obtaining Power Within, it's time for everybody's favorite bug lady, Quelaag. Speaking of low IQ, a second ago, I completely forgot to put Power Within on before the fight. It surprises me how I was ever able to beat this game with bare fist. Either way, at the start, I tried to hit her human body with spells to stun lock her, but my aim was shit. So I just fought her normally by hanging around her armpits, because there's no possible way I could miss there. I'm just going to stop fucking talking now. Eventually, I found shooting her thick ass was the key to victory, because when it's that thick, there's no way to miss. While in the area, I figured I would knock out Ceaseless Discharge for some extra souls. With those said souls, I get my intelligence to 45. Feeling powerful, I took on a 6-headed Hydra, who I definitely didn't struggle with. After easily becoming the Hercules of the wizarding world, I freed Dusk, bought Hidden Body and Cast Light from her, and then proceeded to steal her crown. It's for a good cause. I then popped Quelaag's soul to be able to buy Great Heavy Soul Arrow. Through my journey of exploring Sin's Fortress, I came across another wizard who calls himself Logan. From what I can tell, this man is trying to impersonate me, but I will give him the benefit of the doubt and rescue him. Once done rescuing a potential psychopath, I wanted to try out my new cosplay of a High Entia on the Iron Giant. And as expected, with the power of anime and Zanza on my side, I knew I would easily take down this giant foe. This son of a bitch got nothing on this oversized monkey, trust me. Using the souls gained from the Iron Giant, I was able to get my intelligence to level 51. With O and S being next on my hit list, I headed back to Logan at Firelink Shrine to buy Homing Soul Mask and Soul Spear to basically nuke the shitty duo. Being armed with a shotgun and sniper rifle like this was the early 2000s Halo's 3-team sniper match, I was ready to teabag some motherfuckers. Starting off, I went with Homing Soul Mask just to help with a bit of damage. I guess we can call that a bit of damage. I honestly did not expect it to do that much damage, even with Power Within, but I sure as hell won't complain. I was so impressed by this, I decided I would beat both of them with just Homing Soul Mask. The ultimate flex in Team Sniper match, beating the other team with only using a shotgun. After teabagging some noobs, I leveled my intelligence to 56 and scored me a date with a big titty woman. The typical gamer pro experience in the early 2000s. With now having the Lord Vessel, I could take on the biggest gamer in all of Lordran, Seath the Scaleless. But, come to find out, that little prick uses cheats so that he can't die. So, after being sent back to my mother's basement, I find Logan the imposter down here and free his sorry ass. With Logan free, I could buy all of his spells to continue his questline. Now having Crystal Soul Spear and Crystal Homing Soul Mask, I was ready for my rematch with Seath. Tragically, I fell victim to Seath's thick tentacles, blocking me from running away from his attacks, leading me to perish. I am just happy I didn't get cursed. For round 2, I just made sure this time to stay far away from his big tentacle. Even with Seath having a high resistance to magic, with having Power Within and Crystal Soul Spear, I was easily able to kill him within 4 hits. If only I was smart enough to do that on my first attempt. After beating Seath, I got my intelligence to level 60, which at this point I won't see any more damage increase unless I hit level 99 for this stats and magic adjustment stats, as you can see by this chart right here. But there's a way for me to get more damage, a better staff. Hello, Logan. This game isn't big enough for 2 naked men with wizard hats. Draw! Woo! That was a close one, but with the imposter taken care of, I take the 10 crystallization catalyst and take back my staff and big hat that he stole. And yes, I am willing to sacrifice damage here for fashion. After getting my stuff back, I wanted to try out the White Dragon Breath spell since I have never used it before, and what better test subject than the stray demon himself, who actually was able to kill me twice. Now you might think I was mad at this, but I honestly was happy for the big guy. It's been a minute since he's had a win, and I think he really needed this. But I made sure to beat him on my 3rd attempt. We don't need him getting an ego after all. Overall, the White Dragon Breath spell was okay. It can be pretty easy to miss with it, and it doesn't really do that great of damage. The only plus side I can give it is it has 20 casts, but you'll need most of the casts to even kill the damn boss. So, after that fight, I figured it was best to get Moonlight Butterfly and Sif over with. And the Moonlight fight was spectacular to say the least. Try this. Go. I don't know why, I didn't expect it to die in one hit. I was hoping after blowing up Moonlight I would do the same to Sif, but it took 3 shots to put the poor girl down. Poor old Yeller had a quicker death than Sif. With those two dealt with, I high-fived a multi-eyed hand monster to take on the Sanctuary Guardian. So I figured I would have a bit of fun and just use homing Crystal Soul Mass and Crystal Magic Weapon on a +0 dagger. What I didn't take into account for was the Sanctuary Guardian keeping his distance for 90% of the fight, which ended up leading to me dying 6 times. Normally, the Sanctuary Guardian does not run away this much, but for some reason, he was being a scaredy cat. So I said, fuck it, and blew the cat up with a rocket launcher. Could I have killed him the other way? Sure, but I'm trying to be better about being hard-headed in my runs. So, out of frustration, I blew up a mushroom to make myself feel better. After committing a war crime against the mushroom people, it was time for Artorias, the Abyss Walker, who I thought I was going to first try, but apparently I am more rusty than I thought. My biggest mistake looking back on it is I should have used both Soul Spears for an easy win. Sadly, the homing Crystal Soul Mass just didn't do that great of damage, and if I would have had both spells, I could have DPS'd him down when he was powering up. But I was a fool and stuck with what I was using, and it ended up taking me 4 deaths to kill the edgy emo knight. With Artorias defeated, I used the amazing Hidden Body spell to easily traverse the DLC to get the Crest Key, and more importantly, Dark Bead, the real shotgun spell in Dark Souls 1. Foolishly, though, I thought it would be great to use a dark spell on a boss that is practically made up of dark magic. God, I make these runs way harder than they need to be. So, after that hiccup, I made sure to bring Crystal Soul Spear paired with Dust Crown Ring and the Dust Crown to make quick work of the big guy. And to top it all off, I didn't even use the Silver Pendant. See, I could beat him without it. After that easy win, I pick up Dark Orb and trade in Manus' Soul for the Pursuer spell. I then ran into my biggest roadblock of this run, these damn ghosts. Normally, I can get around them with no issues, but my god, were they being a pain in the ass this run. I should have just went get a Transient Curse, but that hard-headedness we were talking about earlier kicked in, but I eventually prevailed to take on the 4 kings. Since I was trying to use as many spells as I could, I decided to go with Dark Orb and Dark Bead for this fight, which should have made it a cakewalk, but I found every possible opportunity to get hit. The biggest shocker to all of this was that I was able to tank all of it and survive long enough to win. Most of the credit here has to go to Dark Bead for being broken as hell. Sadly, I did not get to use Dark Orb, so I made sure to use it for the Fire Sage fight. Alright, I see why no one really talks about this spell. That damage output was very, very disappointing. So I switched to Pursuer, which I had on me, and it did way better damage. Unfortunately, not enough to kill the boss, so I had to finish him off with the Dark Orb. Now, for the most pain in the ass boss in this run, and no, it wasn't the Bed of Chaos. The damn Centipede Demon kept staying so far away, spamming his arm attack, that I couldn't hit him with my spells. And even when I would try and hit his arm, my casting time was too slow to hit him. You might be thinking just run to the other side with the big platform, but I have tried this before in my other low HP runs, and I end up dying from the lava. So I just had to wait until Centipede Demon cooperated for me to kill him. Luckily, it only took me 3 attempts, or I would have lost my shit way more than I did. After that lovely fight, there was the Bed of Chaos, who kindly shut me down like every other girl who I've ever axed out in my life. But joke's on you, Bed of Chaos, because eventually one of them said yes, so your loss, suck it. So after killing the Bed of Chaos with jealousy, I killed Pinwheel with a gun. I stand corrected. Shit, maybe I should have used Power Within for Pinwheel. My bad, Pinwheel. I didn't know you had a little bit of pimp in you. You have my respect. With Pinwheel defeated, I was ready for Nito. Damn it. I somehow survived that, for Nito to just get stuck on a stalagmite. So I just let him kill me for me to try again. As y'all can tell, I am using Hidden Body with Slumbering Dragon Crest Ring to lure Nito out to fight him 1v1. Except the Hidden Body wore off, and then it became a race to see who could kill who faster. But being a wizard cowboy, this wasn't my first rodeo, so I was able to wrangle by those skeletons and take out Nito with my shotgun, like the true American that I am. Up next was Gwendolyn and Priscilla, who both easily went down in 2 hits with Dark Bead. Fun fact, apparently if you one-shot Priscilla, it will actually soft-lock your game because you won't be able to leave the area due to her permanently being invisible, which if I would have used Power Within, I would have 100% one-shot her. From here, I befriend a giant who kindly asks Calamite to stop flying around so that I can kill him for my entertainment and for y'all's. Due to my past experiences with Calamite, I wasn't going to hold back any punches, so I went in with Dusk Ring, Dusk Crown, and Dark Bead to make this a quick fight. But even with all that, I only did 973 damage to him, which had me curious at the end of the fight if I should have just used Crystal Soul Spear. So, with me having the spell on me, I tested it out, and I for sure should have just used it over Dark Bead. Most likely, Calamite has high resistance to dark magic because I was positive Dark Bead would have done more damage to him. Either way, with Calamite defeated, that only leaves one more boss to go. Gwen, the Lord of Cinder. Son of a bitch! Well, I haven't parried in Dark Souls 1 in a minute, so I guess that's to be expected. Fortunately for me, I was able to pull it off on my second attempt, and as you can see, Dark Bead made quick work of a dying god, leading to the first game in the trilogy to come to an end. But not for our dear friend Logan. Oh no. He used his smooth moves on the Firekeeper and ended up having a son, Logan Jr. It's as they say, when one adventure ends, another bizarre one begins. For the class, I went with the Sorcerer. Not for its 14 intelligence, but for its 12 in attunement because that will actually give me 1 spell slot. For comparison, in DS1, you get 3 spell slots to start with. So I'll be relying on rings to help me out there. For the gift, I went with the Bonfire aesthetic to help with getting spells and higher level rings. With Logan Jr. all set, let's get this second adventure started. So, starting off by doing a little bit of murdering, I kill Moglin for his armor since wearing the full set gives you 22.5% more souls, and I immediately put them to use with Dragon Rider. It just took me a few tries. In my defense, gravity is magic in Elden Ring. I then used the souls I acquired from Dragon Rider to get my intelligence to 26. Once done leveling, I paid Licha a quick visit. With now having the Rotunda locked stone, I can access Huntsman Copse to kill Falcon. The reason I did this was to be able to buy his headpiece from the Merchant Hag, which gives me more spell cast while wearing it. Now, you can get this from him without killing him, but you need 20 faith and 20 intelligence, and we all know that wasn't an option, but it'll be a minute before I can buy it. With that said, I made my way to No Man's Wharf to meet Carillion to get access to some new spells like Soul Spear Barrage, and buy the clear blue stone ring for faster casting speed. And after talking to him for a bit, he gave me the Northern Ritual Band +1. After that nice little chat, I did a little speedrunner skip, which I 100% did on my first try. Once done blowing up a wall, I pick up the Great Soul Arrow. You might be wondering why Logan Jr. is wearing clothes. Well, after career day in middle school, Logan Jr. was so embarrassed by his father's nudity that he swore that he would always wear clothes in public. Crazy what trauma will do to a kid. But with that said, it's time to take on the last giant. Sadly, Logan Jr. took more after his father than he would have liked, because he forgot to equip the Great Soul Arrow he picked up. Not only that, he was able to pull off a world first and actually die to the last giant. Definitely Logan Jr.'s fault and not mine. Being the stubborn lad that he is, he stuck with his airsoft gun to kill the last giant. It also helped that I figured out that you can lock onto his legs. I mean he, not I. I then leveled my intelligence to 35 and upgraded my staff to +1. With that done, I was ready for the Flexile Sentry. For this fight, I went with Great Soul Arrow, hoping the 18 cast would be enough. Tragically, the first shot missed. It's probably fine. 17 should be enough. Son of a bitch! So I had to finish the Flexile Sentry off with the staff melee. Surprisingly, it did more damage than I expected it to do. After barely surviving that fight, I finally bought the Hexer's Hood. With my new headpiece, I figured I was ready for the Pursuer. Going into this fight, I thought it was going to be a cakewalk, but 180, oh my dear lordy Bessie. After seeing how low that damage was, I decided to use a different kind of magic. Oh no, how'd that happen? Oh no, he ran into the ballista. How could it have happened? In my defense, this isn't a sorcery only run. I then pick up the blue seal and the life ring to help a bit with my low HP. I then buy Great Heavy Soul Arrow for more damage, pop some souls to get my intelligence to 48, and get my staff to +4. I did all this prep to take on Nachka. The reason I'm coming here so soon is for 2 reasons. One is to be able to get access to the strongest staff in the game, the Staff of Wisdom, which is in Brightstone Cove. The second reason is that I will need to kill Nachka a second time to get the Southern Ritual Band +2, which will give me 3 more spell slots. Sadly, with Nachka having so high of magic resistance, I ran out of Great Heavy Soul Arrows, even with using Amber Herbs. Which led to me meleeing with the staff, and y'all can already guess how that went. So I knew I needed to do a bit more prep work before I could take on Nachka again, so I went to McDuff to buy large Titanite shards to get my staff to +7, and then warped over to Huntsman Copse to get a sniper rifle. But even with having this powerful spell, I knew it wasn't going to be enough to kill Nachka. I was going to need more spell slots, and the only way I was going to be able to do that was to beat the Belfry Gargoyles. But first, I had to deal with the Royal Sentinels to get to them. Maybe I'll just go pay Ornstein a visit for some easy levels. Yep, I was right, he was a pushover. All I had to do was stay back shooting at him until he went down. This Ornstein is not near as aggressive as the DS1s. With that, I was able to get my intelligence up to 57 and made sure to stock up on some Amber Herbs for the boss fight, because I doubt 13 shots will be enough to kill them. Once done stocking up, I returned to the Royal Sentinels. Alright, fuck this, I'm going back to Nachka, and doing this the old-fashioned way, with pure hard-headedness. So, come to find out, she wasn't too bad to deal with after all. All you have to do is bait out her tail strike attack. If she does the one where her tails are split apart, you're fine to shoot away. But if they are together, you need to wait a second for her tails to start coming back up, otherwise her tails will negate the attack. I also found out in this fight you can get her stuck between the 2 trees, which made it super easy to get shots off on her. Now, this isn't foolproof, she can break away, so be careful if you try this. Sadly, I ran out of Amber Herbs, so I had to bludgeon her to death with my staff. Surprisingly, it was easier fight than I thought it was going to be, and I only ended up dying twice. With Nachka defeated, I ran over to Brightstone Cove and found the Mimic chest that has the Staff of Wisdom in it. Then a friendly green neighborhood Souls Tuber stopped by to give me some advice on how to deal with the Mimic, and thinking I could trust JK Leeds, this happened. JK, I swear to God. I swear. I swear to fucking God. If any bad happens, son of a bitch. Let this be a lesson to all of you. Don't trust green people. After entertaining JK leads and chat with my gullibleness, I was able to trap the mimic in a hole and kill it for the staff. At this point, I wanted to upgrade my staff a bit, which needs Twinkling Titanite to do so. So I killed the 2 pursuers in the Lost Bastille and lit the torch in McDuck's office to get one more in the chest he was sitting on. With having 3 Twinkling Titanite, I get my Wisdom Staff to +2, which surprisingly did not do crazy damage to the Royal Sentinels. I honestly thought it was going to blow them up. But my IQ finally kicked in and took advantage of the Sentinel that fell off to get some free hits in. I see why Obi-Wan Kenobi likes having the high ground. Once I took down 1 Sentinel, the domino effect started and then the rest went down. After that fight, I opened the secret door to get Hush, killed another pursuer, and took on the Belfry Gargoyles, which ended up being a bit trickier than I thought. Surprisingly, those suckers are quick. What I think I should have done for this fight was use Soul Spear. I was so worried with only 3 uses that it wouldn't be enough to kill the bosses, but if I would have just used some herbs, I think I could have made this fight a lot easier. Either way, I did what any wizard would do and ran away for my life while shooting to pull off a first try. You know, like how Harry Potter would have done. With them defeated, I was able to get the level 1 Southern Ritual Band and get my intelligence to 75. Not even halfway through the game and I'm almost at 99. Feeling a bit confident, I decided I would go try the Lost Center. With my last run going really well against this boss, I didn't think I was going to have any issues. I had issues. The major mistake I made here was using Soul Spear Barrage. It's a great spell for bigger targets, but with the Lost Center being a bit starved, she wasn't an easy opponent to hit. So I finally got smart after my 6th death and switched to Great Heavy Soul Arrow. With that one simple change, I had no issues DPSing her down. Wanting to make up for that horrible loss, I went straight to the Prowling Magus and pulled off a world first, dying to the Congregation. Attempt 2, I made sure to murder all of them. Not kill, murder. I then beeline it through an army of spiders and hags to fight a giant spider hag, who repeatedly killed me 3 times to the point I needed to go farm torches. So I took out the Royal Rat Vanguard quickly to get access to the gutter where I could kill Torch Dude for torches. Well, that failed. So I took a detour to Door of Pharaohs to get a Faint Stone to infuse my staff with magic so it can do more damage. With that side objective done, I went to Huntsman's Copse to get more torches to retake on Freya. In all honesty, I should have cleared this on my first try, because all you have to do is bait out her beam attack and then shoot the other head to kill her. No clue why this took me 4 tries. After beating Freya, I head over to the Black Gulch and killed 2 giants to get the Forgotten Key to access the DLC in a bit, and fought the Rodden while I was here, where Soul Barrage did okay. Not great, but okay. Was hoping the machine gun spell would be a bit better, but it is what it is. With that win, it gave me enough souls to get my intelligence to 99, and I only killed 13 bosses. I then hopped down the well, used the Forgotten Key to get the Witch Tree branch, which will be very important later on in this run, a new spell called Soul Vortex, and the key to the DLC. With Soul Vortex being an AoE spell, I figured there was no better boss to test it out on than the Royal Rat Authority. First attempt wasn't that great, the spell range was shorter than I expected, but my 3rd attempt I found this sweet spot to take out those rat dogs, and with the small fry taken care of, I shot the giant rabies-sized dog like Old Yeller, but this time without all the crying. Once done killing another dog because FromSoft has something against them for some reason, I headed over to the Sunken DLC to get some more Twinkling Titanite and a new spell called Focus Soul. Having grabbed those items, I got my staff to +4, and for some reason, I had a hankering to sniff some glue, so I trotted on over to Undead Purgatory to make my own. Which should have been an easy process, but apparently the skeletons here were former PETA employees, and they did not like that idea. Sucks to be them though, because I got a magic gun and I am not afraid to use it. With PETA dealt with, I was finally able to make my fresh glue. Fresh glue always gives you the best high. And being high as a horse, I was ready for the Skeleton Lords, where I learned Soul Vortex was not that great. Come to find out, the main damage comes from the sphere in the center and the outer rings don't do that much damage. Another cool looking spell that led to a bit of disappointment. FromSoft really likes making Soul Spear and Crystal Soul Spear the best options, I guess. Even with Soul Vortex low damage, I was able to use it to the best of its abilities to defeat the Skeleton Lords, and if you see me killing the boss with this staff just now, know you were high off a horse glue as well. Still being slightly high, I hit on Taylor Swift and convinced her to move on over to Majula. What can I say? Logan Jr. has a thing for sugar mamas. Once done chatting with T-Swift, I found the covetous demon. And then it was dead. Before taking on Mytha, it was time to kill Nachka a second time for the ring. So I burned the aesthetic and used everything I learned from my previous fights to deal with her. But I do have to say, her now casting both of her spells at the same time scared the living shit out of me and filled me with joy at the same time. The fact that in the NG Plus cycle, her moveset changes like this was super cool and refreshing. Seriously, Miyazaki, do this in all of your future games, it will make NG Plus cycles actually interesting. With Nachka defeated, I can now have a total of 4 spell slots. And while I was in the area, I made sure to get the Lion's Mage set that helps with casting speed. Being set with some new spells and a new wardrobe, I walk into the Mytha fight, once again making the fatal mistake of trying out a new spell on a skinny bitch. Focus Soul is a cool looking attack, but with you needing all 4 beams to connect to do decent damage, it led to me dying twice. Probably great for thick bosses, but not for skinny ones like Mytha. So I did what I always do, I just switched back to Soul Spear and Great Heavy Soul Arrow to win because God forbid I try something else to win in a fight for once. Getting access to Iron Keep, I did what any sane person would do. Run past all that shit to fight the boss, because fuck this area. Smelter Demon was one of the bosses that I thought I was going to struggle with on this run, but shockingly I was able to beat him on my first try. With not having to be right up on his junk, taking tick damage, and just being able to keep my distance, spamming spells, he went down rather quickly. I wish I could say the same for the blue Smelter Demon fights, but we'll be talking about that later on. With Smelter Demon dealt with, I was ready for his boss, the old Iron King. I knew this fight was going to be easy, so I decided to have a bit of fun. So I brought Soul Barrage and Soul Focus to mess around a bit. Astonishingly, Focus Soul and Soul Spear Barrage did really well on this fight. With me being able to hit multiple body parts, it just melted the old King's HP. Felt like I was having a Scarface moment.
Say hello to my little friend!
After becoming the new King of Iron Keep, it was time for Drainlake Castle, where I became best friends with a ghost merchant, and scored another world first by dying to the Dragon Riders. Man, Logan Jr. might think he is better than his dad, but at least his dad didn't die on easy fights. It's fine though, I doubt it will happen again. Round 2, I did the impossible and killed the red Dragon Rider first, which made the blue Dragon Rider pull out his own halberd. I honestly thought he could only use a bow. Either way, he was still squishy, so a gun easily killed him. Now, having some souls, I could buy some wilted dusk herbs from my new ghost buddy. Feeling like I needed a bit more power, I brought Freya back to life to kill her again. I did this because when killing her in a NG Plus cycle, you will get the old pale Drake Soul, aka Seath, to be able to trade in for the Crystal Soul Spear, aka a Barrett M82 50 caliber sniper rifle, aka I make things go boom. While picking up a new spell to add to my arsenal, I acquired the Soul Greatsword, probably my favorite spell in the game. Nothing more badass than swinging a giant energy blade, as you can see. I came so close to skipping Looking Glass Knight's summoning phase, but tragically one of my Crystal Soul Spears and Great Sword Slashes hit his shield, negating them. If it wasn't for that, I could have easily killed him before he summoned, but no worries, I popped some herbs and slashed his stomach wide open. No way he's coming back from that one. With now having access to Shrine of Amana, I grinded the knights here for 5 Twinkling Tie-Knights to max out my staff, and while I was at it, I grinded the black leech looking things in the gulch for chunks to upgrade my armor. I then had the luxury of learning why everyone dislikes the Shrine of Amana. In my previous playthrough, I really didn't have any issues here, but this time the game decided to show me what I was missing out on. With not being able to level ADP and having a limited amount of spells, it made getting through this area hell. So I ran past everything because fuck this area. But it's still pretty, so calm your titties, DS2 stands. While in Hell, I also picked up the Homing Crystal Soul Mass, which means I missed the normal one. Whoops. Next up on the list is the Demon Song, which I did not properly prepare for because I was running away from everything, like I do with all my life problems. The Demon Song was super chill. The second time I fought him. With him having an overly large size face, it made it easy to snipe him with Crystal Soul Spear, which took massive chunks of his health off. Why am I hitting him with my staff, you ask? I don't want to talk about it. After that, I had a small chit-chat with Aldia about life and about him wanting to adopt a puppy or a kitten. He's still up in the air about it, but y'all let me know in the comments whether he should get a kitten or a puppy. Once done chatting, Velstad had his first win against me, continuing the theme of losing to easy bosses. But no worries, my soul homies made sure to take care of him in the second round. Now, starting to really feel the effects of low ADP, I jump on over to the old Iron King DLC to get the Simpleton's Ring to make my ADP slightly better. Also in the old Ring DLC, I made sure to pick up the Magic Clutch Ring, or in this game, the Sorcery Clutch Ring for some more damage. And I figured being down here, I should give Fume Knight a try. It didn't go so well. So, after my 6th death, I went to Aldia's Keep and made a big boo-boo by pulling this lever. You see, by pulling this lever, I let the Royal Sorcerer out, which means I can no longer get the spell Unleash Magic, which upon casting gives the user 20% more magic damage at the cost of 30% of your HP for 60 seconds. This right here would have made some of my future fights that I was extremely struggling with a lot easier, but my impulse to pull or push any button or lever got the better of me. As they say, curiosity killed the cat. So, after unintentionally handicapping myself this run, I grabbed Soul Geyser, and having this new spell that is essentially a bazooka, I tested it out on a trapped dragon. The PETA skeletons will not be happy about this one. With only 2 shots of the bazooka, I almost killed the Guardian Dragon. Finally, a new spell that I can use besides Crystal Soul Spear. Seeing how strong Soul Geyser was, I decided to use a bonfire aesthetic to get me a second one. Can't hurt to have 2 bazookas, which I kindly used on the Ancient Dragon. Come to find out, it's not that great on him, and Crystal Soul Spear did more damage. Fuck, so close to having a spell that could have been better. After that sad win, I traveled through time to fight the last giants. Oh, that's right, he doesn't know that yet. For the Giant Lord, I thought I could just hang out by his feet for some easy hits, but come to find out, it just made it easier for him to hit me. So when making it back to him, I saw that I could take him on from higher elevation, which made getting shots off much more doable. So doable, in fact, he died shortly afterwards. Well, I guess technically he doesn't die here, he's just defeated since he becomes the last giant. I don't know, fuck it. Since I was already memory hopping, I hopped on over to the other 2 giants' memories to get the last 2 souls of a giant. To take on a dying, blind, semi-death, arthritis-aching old man with a limp of a king. It might look like I almost died here, but that's just the horse glue talking. Luckily this time I did not get another world first on Vendrick. After the Vendrick fight, I was running low on wilted dusk herbs, so I planned on doing some grinding, but thanks to Hikari from chat, I was able to learn that Aldia's Keep that you can have an infinite resources of bonfire aesthetics, wilted dusk herbs, and a bonus of Elizabeth mushrooms. All you have to do is have 2 brushes of yore and free these 2 guys, and they will permanently be unfrozen, so you can just repeatedly use the bonfire aesthetics in this area to get 2 of each said item. I still felt like I wasn't ready for Fume Knight yet, so I went kill Freya again for another Crystal Soul Spear. With now being able to have 6 shots and an infinite resource of pot, I was ready for Fume Knight. The plan here was to use a Bright Bug to help with damage, and anytime he would do a thrust attack to roll to the right side. If you roll into him, there's a very good chance the lingering hitboxes will get you. Surprisingly, Fume Knight doesn't have too many combo strings after attacking when you stay back, which made getting shots in phase 1 pretty easy. Except when he gets past half health and you think he's going to go into phase 2, but he decides to smack you in the face. For phase 2, it was pretty much the same, but I would usually wait for him to do his charge attack to get hits in or to pop some herbs. Now you can get shots in after his normal swings, but you need to make sure to be far back because if you're a bit too close, the 3rd hit will get you. But after 9 deaths, I was finally able to bring down the dual wielding bastard. Feeling good after that win, I went straight to Blue Smelter Demon. Can't be too bad, right? The Red Smelter Demon, oh no. So that's 281 damage from a Crystal Soul Spear boosted by a Bright Bug. What the fuck, FromSoft? Come to find out, this giant blue pig has 80% magic resistance. Who in the hell thought that was a good idea? So, after dying 12 times, I decided I would come back later, so I hit up Smelter Demon's cousin, Sir Alone, to see how he feels about this situation. Apparently he's on Team FromSoft. Catching his drift, I went take on Alana instead. This fight right here I was anticipating to be one of the hardest, but it ended up being one of the easiest. Thanks to some RNGesus luck, she summoned her skeletons first. Upon seeing this, I took advantage of this and made sure to keep one of them alive so that it would prolong her from summoning another ad. If you kill her summons immediately, she will usually just summon another one to take its place, but by me leaving it alive, she will wait longer to summon backup, which gave me enough time to kill her before she could summon Velstadt. With Alana being next door neighbors with Sin, it made sense to take him on next. The first attempt didn't go so well, but round 2 I got my footing. The strategy here was pretty simple, just stay back and bait out his Fire Breath attack and get free hits in. That's all it took to beat Sin, the Slumbering Dragon. I was still not ready for the Blue Smelter Demon, so I went to Ilium Lois to take on Ava, who decided to use me as her personal play toy. Someone wants to tell me why the tiger fight was more challenging than the dragon fight? At this point, I realized maybe 13 ADP wasn't going to be good enough, so I went farm some peasants for their clothes since each piece helps increase ADP. Since I was already doing some chores, I figured I would pick up a few things for the Blue Smelter Demon fight. First off, I got Dark Fog to inflict poison on the big guy, but it needs 14 faith to use it. So I went over to the Spice Merchant to lower it down to 5 so that I could use it. But, come to find out, the lowest you can lower a spell requirement to is to 10. I did not know this, and I thought I could get it to go all the way down to 1, but apparently that's not the case. So I ended up using a cool feature that DS2 has, where you can revive dead NPCs for some souls to bring back Licha to buy the Ring of Prayer, which gives me plus 5 to Faith, which will allow me to have 10 in Faith to use Dark Fog. With doing all that prep for Blue Smelter Demon, I figured I would go try him again. So the play for this fight is to use Witch Tree Branch, which has the highest casting speed to get Dark Fog off faster, and use the Staff of Wisdom on the other hand to do chip damage with Soul Spear. A very easy and simple plan to kill the boss. That took me 8 attempts to pull off, which brought my death count total to Blue Smelter Demon to 20. Even with a strategy this simple that is practically impossible to fuck up, I will find a way to do so. After that fight, I came to the conclusion I will probably need to come up with a new strategy for Sir Alone and Ava. So I went to work. I hit up my sugar mama, T-Swift for some Titanite shards and a faint stone to make a plus 10 magic infused dagger, since with only 3 strength, this is pretty much the only thing I can use. I then went over to Dragon Shrine to get Crystal Magic Weapon, and this is all I'm going to need to beat Sir Alone. See, my previous fight, I was struggling with getting cast off on him to get hits, so I figured why not bring a knife to a katana fight. You might be thinking this would make the fight harder, but it actually made it quite easier. I did die 3 times trying this, but that was on me for not timing some of my rolls properly. With the dagger being quick and it being boosted by Crystal Magic Weapon and a Bright Bug, I was able to dish out some decent damage. With a little bit of rolling and a little bit of stabbing, Sir Alone went down after 8 attempts. Seeing how well this did, I figured it would work great against Ava. It did not work great against Ava. What I ended up having to do was just switch to Crystal Soul Spear and get good. And by get good, I ran away like a chicken shooting until I won. Easy peasy. With Ava defeated, I was ready for the Ivory King, and yes, I decided to use the soldiers for this fight. In technicality, they are not summons. There is no summon sign to summon them. I see them as part of the mechanic for this fight, just like the lighting the fires for the Lost Sinner, so I'm okay with using them in my runs. Now with that said, this fight was extremely rough. With having to deal with the army first and then the Ivory King, it led to me dying 12 times, and these weren't short fights either. I would make it to the Ivory King phase every time, making each round about 8 minutes long. What I ended up having to do is keep my Halberd soldier close to full health so that when the king comes out, he is distracted longer so that I can get some free shots in. but that alone wasn't going to lead me to victory. This time, I really did have to get good. I actually had to learn the Ivory King's moveset to be able to get hits off or to even pop a herb or Estus. Until it all finally came together for me to just get cucked by the game, because why not give the damn boss super armor on his fucking grab moves? As you can tell, I am still salty about this, but fortunately for me, I was able to beat him on my next attempt after that. With that done, I needed an easy win, so I cheesed the Three Stooges. In fairness, I do think this is the intelligent thing to do. With that, I was only left with the Frigid Outskirts, where I did use summons to try and help me across. Emphasis on the try part. Hell, OBS was having enough of this that my second source recording without chat even called it quits here. So, for the rest of Dark Souls 2, chat will be up on screen. The Frigid Outskirts got so bad, I caved and snorted some crack to zoom all the way to the boss, because if I didn't do it, I would have just skipped Lud and Zolin. Which, in hindsight, I should have. This fight might be the worst fight in the game. Having to deal with two bosses that just don't seem to be programmed to be an actual duo fight, and for the damn last one to get a buff and a heal is just utterly disgusting. You can honestly tell the devs here expected you to use summons for this fight and didn't intend for the players to take it on solo, which led to me racking up a total of 23 deaths. And once again, these were not slow fights either. Some fights lasted over 5 minutes. I'll just be honest, there was no strategy here. It was simply get lucky and kill Lud as fast as possible. When both tigers are out, you can get lucky that they won't stay on top of each other, but most of the time they'll both be bum rushing you, which meant death 95% of the time. Truthfully, after finally winning, I was hard debating never doing this fight ever again because I just don't think it's a good fight, but we'll have to see what the future holds. After that horrible fight, I needed a palate cleanser, so I went to Dark Lurker, who apparently is super weak to magic because damn, 1050 without Brightbug is kind of nuts for a late game boss. Sadly, even with him being super weak, I had a bit of bad luck. On the first round, I got slightly nipped, which killed me, but the worst of all was on round 2, where I killed Dark Lurker, but he still got to cast his spell after dying and killed me, and you might think it's like DS1 and 3, where if you kill them first, you win. Nope, because they were sure as hell dead before they killed me, and I still lost. Apparently this is a rare bug, or I hope it's a bug, because if this is a feature where a boss can still do an attack or a spell after being dead, that's just fucked up. So I made sure on the third round to be extra careful when killing him this time. With DS2 wanting to continuously stress me out, I beelined it straight for the final fights. So upon beating the shit out of Throne Defender, apparently Throne Watcher wasn't happy about that and proceeded to smack the shit out of me. Okay, bitch. I see you. Say hello to my big friend. With Throne Defender's bodyguard dealt with, he went down shortly afterwards. Then Nashandra appeared, and then she disappeared. Then I did the impossible. Out of all 7 billion people on this planet, no one has ever done this before. I died to Aldia, but my greatness doesn't stop there. I did it a second time, and even better, a third time, but even better, a fourth time by walking off an edge. Now that I'm done busting my own balls, I did eventually kill Aldia. It just took longer than I would want to admit to. With that, Logan Jr.'s bizarre adventure comes to an end. He became king of the realm, married Taylor Swift for her money, and they end up having a son together named Logan Jr. Jr. Not the third, but Jr. Jr. And with that, it is time for his adventure through Lothric. For the starting class, I of course went with Sorcerer again, but this time the 16 in Attunement gives me 2 spell slots. Seems like Dark Souls 3 wanted to meet in the middle of 1 and 2. Starting off, Logan Jr. Jr. woke up from a long nap, grabbed some Gatorade, and took on Gundyr 1.0, who I bullied to death by using a little 22 pump action rifle. With Gundyr defeated, I ransacked Firelink Shrine for some goodies, leveled my intelligence up to 19, and hopped on over to the Great Wall of China to pick up some Titanite shards and a Estus shard. Then use the shards I collected to upgrade my staff to +2 and use the Estus shards for some more mana recovery. With just those few things, I was ready for Vort. Funny enough, you can just fight Vort the same way you would if you were using a close range weapon. It's most likely easier this way to get hits off with spells because with how big Vort is, being that close, it would be pretty hard to miss. Once he entered his second phase and was doing his Frost Breath attack, I just made sure to break his head for the visceral. After that, it only took a few shots to take him down. From here, I team up with a Hermit who will give me 5 free levels if I die 15 times. Combining this with the souls I just got brings my intelligence to 29. I then make my way through Undead Settlement, collecting some more Titanite shards, and met a fellow nap enjoyer, who helped me kill a giant fire demon for some souls, and of course I had to drink with him to celebrate. After that fun little bonding activity, I pick up the Calanthe Ring since DS3 decided to keep the stamina consumption upon using a spell from DS2. Thanks, Dark Souls 3. Having some spare change, I bought Soul Greatsword from a goth chick, thinking it would be amazing like it was in DS2. That was not the case. Upon using it, it didn't do that great of damage, but worse, it used a crap ton of mana, which ended up leaving me in a pickle for Cursed Rotted Greatwood at the end of the fight. Well, at least Logan Jr. went out the way he would have wanted to go. So after that little mishap, I freed Grey Rat because I will be needing to buy an important item from him after he scavenges 2 times. In the meantime, I walk on over to the Road of Sacrifice to get the Sage Ring to help with casting speed and befriend Professor Snape so I can learn some new spells. I then head on over to Farron Keep to get the Golden Scroll, the Sage Scroll, and most importantly the Dust Crown for the sweet 10% increase to magic damage. Once done shopping at Farron Keep, I head up my Potion Professor for some new spells. The one I'm most interested in trying out is Pestilent Mist, so I figured our old friend the Asylum Demon would be great for that. The cool thing about Pestilent Mist is that it does percent base damage in accordance to how much health the enemy has. The trade-off to this strong effect is that it can do the same thing to you. A double-edged sword, as some would say, but that's only a downside if you suck. Which sucks because I suck. Moving on, I pick up some large Titanite shards in the area to get my staff to +4 and pop some souls I had on me to get my intelligence to 37. With an arsenal of new spells and a new outfit, I was ready for the Abyss Watchers. I thought it would be fun to try out Fair and Hail since I have never used it before. Apparently I didn't learn from my previous mistakes in the last 2 runs. So after 2 failed attempts of trying to use it, I got smart and just used Great Heavy Soul Arrow and Great Soul Arrow, and sure enough I won by doing this. I tried to get away from the basic bitch spells, but they keep pulling me back in. With that, I popped their souls and leveled my intelligence to 43. Still wanting to kill a boss with a new spell, I equipped the Fair and Flash Sword, and I have to say, I really like this spell. It almost feels like I'm using a lightsaber with how fast it attacks, and it deals decent damage at that. With defeating the Cursed Rotted Greatwood, I had enough souls to buy Dark Hand. You might be thinking this is a weird purchase, but with Dark Hand's 0 stat requirement and good base damage, it is a great weapon to use on bosses with high sorcery resistance, like the Crystal Sage. The only thing holding the Dark Hand back is Logan Jr.'s heritage of losing to easy bosses. Sadly, this curse also affects Jr., but as per usual, the second round was much better, and I was able to guess where the real Crystal Sage was this time to earn the W. After obtaining the Crystal Sage's soul, I traded it in for Crystal Hail, which I thought the perfect boss to test it out on would be the Deacons of the Deep. Conclusion, it sucks. Second conclusion, FromSoft really struggles with making new spells that are actually viable. The real ball crusher here was how hard the Deacons were. Normally the Deacons of the Deep are not that bad, but with them having high sorcery resistance, Dark Hand needing to be right in their cooch to hit them, and being as brittle as wet toilet paper, it didn't take much to kill me. Oh, I also found out their Dark Orb attack can go through the pillar, so you can go fuck yourself, Miyazaki. So after 5 deaths, the plan became use Pestilent Mist to not only hurt the boss, but also weaken the ugly bastards protecting him, and then use Dark Hand when I had an opportunity to hit. One day, FromSoft will learn gank boss fights are not fun. One day. With the Deacons of Dix dead, I use their souls to get Deep Soul and proceed to never use it. I then do a little shortcut here in the catacombs. For the skip, you don't need Spook, you could do it without it. I highly recommend this skip. It makes going through this area a bit more tolerable. Once done finishing this skip, it was time for Walnir, where I finally found a use for Fair and Hail and Soul Greatsword. Probably would have been easier to use the stronger spells, but I wanted to have a bit of fun here. From here, we get the very cinematic view of Irithyll the Boral Valley, and then I kill Pontiff's dog just because I could. With the pupper dealt with, I use one of the best spells in the game, Hidden Body, to get one of the best rings in the game, Magic Clutch Ring. Now, with having access to the Irithyll dungeon, I have a bit of prep work to do. First on the list, I get the Jailbreaker's Key so that I can open the side door in the dungeon to get Bellowing Dragoncrest's ring. Secondly, I make my way to the Profane Capital to go to the Underground Swamp area to get Grandpa Logan's Catalyst from a Mimic's chest, and kill this Logan imposter for Grandpa Logan's scroll. With this scroll, I can now get Soul Spear and Homing Soul Mass. Thirdly, I help out my napping buddy on a couple of occasions until he moves on over to Irithyll the Boral Valley. With Onion Knight over there, I can send Greyrat to pillage for a second time without him dying, but I need to kill a boss to make him come back. So I went on over to the old Demon King, and as you can see, I was not lying about me sucking. Really, he wasn't that bad. All I did was run away, setting up Pestle and Mist traps for him to walk into while I shoot him with Soul Spear. And after about 2 minutes of doing this, he went down. With that done, I can complete the third task by buying Scholar's Candlestick. Scholar's Candlestick is a Faith Dagger, but its special perk is that it increases all magic damage, not just miracles, by 10%. So, by just having this in my left hand, I will get 10% more damage. Combining this with Dust Crown, Magic Clutch, Lloyd Sword Ring, Bellowing, and Young Dragon Ring, that would give me a 77% boost in sorcery damage, and if you trade out Lloyd Sword Ring for RTSR, that would be an 87% boost in damage. Sorcery can be really good in this game, but it just takes a little bit of prep work to do so. For the fourth task, I save Carla to be able to get dark sorcery spells for later. And now for the fifth and final task, I stop the Ballista in Smoldering Lake to collect large Titanite shards and pick up a chunk at Ithral Dungeon to get my new staff to +7. With all that prep work done with, I felt ready for Yorm the Giant. My first strategy was to go in with Pestle and Mist while I snipe at his head. But that didn't really work out as planned, so I switched over to how I deal with him with melee, where I bait out his slam attack, but this time I could shoot his head and not his arms for bigger damage, and when I would get the break, that's when I was able to dish out the really big damage. Unfortunately, I did die 4 times, but that was on me for bad positioning. Overall, really wasn't that bad for not having been able to use Storm Ruler. After beating Yorm, I leveled my intelligence to 57 and felt ready to dance with Dancer. For this fight, I decided to go with Homing Soul Mass and Great Heavy Soul Arrow. The reason I went with Great Heavy over Soul Spear was because of mana cost, because I thought this was going to be a long fight, but I was happily wrong. With all the rings on with Scholar's Candlestick, I did great damage. If I would have known this, I would have brought Soul Spear instead, because even without it, I almost killed Dancer before she could go into her second phase. And I'm pretty positive with Soul Spear, I would have been able to do it. So I am happy to say I first tried Dancer. From here, I collect some chunks in the Consumed King's Garden and Lothrich's Castle to get my staff to +9. With having some extra souls, I also bought Dark Edge and Infinity from Carla. Seeing how well Dancer went, I figured Pontiff wouldn't be too hard either. Thank you, Pontiff, for keeping my ego in check. For Pontiff, I went with Affinity and Soul Spear just because I thought it would be an interesting combination to use against him. Is it the most optimal? No, but sometimes it's more fun to not play optimally. My plan was simple, get as far away as possible and shoot. When he starts to summon his clone, shoot even harder to instantly kill it. With his clone out of the picture, Pontiff wasn't much of a threat on my 5th attempt. After beating Pontiff, I had enough souls to get my intelligence to 65, only 4 points away from happy hour. I then make my way up to Anor Londo to deal with the pain in the ass that is Aldrich. Aldrich was rough, really rough. The son of a bitch killed me 6 times. That's 6 times too many. Truthfully, I knew this fight was going to be a bit rough, with half of his attacks being magic. I figured sorcery wouldn't do that much damage to him. To be honest, I think I just got lucky on my 7th attempt. I was running with Great Heavy and Fair and Flash Sword. I went with Flash Sword to help get easy hits in while Aldrich was running away, and Great Heavy for mana management. The lucky part was in his second phase, where Aldrich for some reason did not want to teleport away and just kept doing melee attacks, leading to easy hits. If he would have ran away at any point and just used a spell or arrow attack, I probably would have been fucked. But you know what? I'll take it because, oh boy, I know what awaits me ahead of this. After Aldrich, I figured I needed a break from someone with high sorcery resistance, so I took on Dragon Slayer, and if you can believe it, he wasn't terrible. In all actuality, he was actually pretty easy. Now, I did die on my first 2 attempts, but that's just a me problem. With only 2 Soul Spears, I was able to poise break Dragon Slayer, and on top of that, it did massive damage to him. It ended up only taking 6 Soul Spears to kill him. Probably my easiest win against him yet. With the Dragon Slayer taken care of, I can access the Grand Archives to kill the Crystal Sage to get the Crystal Scroll, which means I get my old friend Crystal Soul Spear again and homing Crystal Soul Mass. At this point, I figured I'd pay Old Man Osiris a visit. Now, normally I would like to fight this boss fairly, but occasionally I do like to test out cheese methods, and funny enough, you can get Osiris stuck behind some trees in his second phase, where you can either use Pestilent Mist or any projectile attack to hit him. Easy peasy. Unless you have my luck where he somehow escapes it and kills you. Then it's not so easy peasy. Ended up taking me 7 attempts until I was finally able to beat him this way. Probably would have been easier if I just fought him normally, but I wanted to do the cheese. After that sad win, I pick up Path of the Dragon for later and make my way to Champion Gundyr 2.0. Who I was expecting to beat on my first try, but the damn casting recovery time fucked me over. If you didn't know, after you cast a spell, you can't immediately roll. Even with that hiccup, I thought this fight would go down quickly. I died 26 times. To be honest, I probably made it harder than it needed to be. My plan was to start with homing Crystal Soul Mass and then hit Gundyr for 2 times with Crystal Soul Spear as he is walking up to get his health to a quarter of health, where I would only need to do 2 more shots of Soul Spear or 2 shots of homing Mass to kill him. This plan did work, but it stubbornly took me 25 deaths in an hour to pull it off. So a better plan would have probably been Flash Sword with Great Heavy, but my pride wouldn't let me switch, so I just persevered until I won. After that unexpected frustrating fight, I leveled my intelligence to 76. Also feeling like my casting speed wasn't fast enough, I went to Irithyll to get Witch Tree Branch, which in Dark Souls 3 has the passive ability to increase spell casting, which means I can hold it in my left hand. And it caps out spell casting, so I can use a different ring to replace the damage lost from Scholar's Candlestick. I then pick up a Tynite Slab in Lautric's Castle and get my staff to plus 10. With all of that done, that just leaves me with beating the Twin Princes. Nope, I'm done with this medium roll shenanigans. I'm going to take a page out of old Grandpa Logan's book and strip. But I'll leave my gloves on because they look cool. For this fight, taking out the elder brother wasn't the issue. It was killing the younger brother, funny enough. As you can expect, he's another boss that has high resistance to sorcery damage, with him being a spell caster and all. Starting off, I went with Great Heavy, but with it only damaging the elder brother and not the younger brother, it just drew out the fight longer, leading me to die. So I switched to Crystal Soul Spear because crystal spells can pierce enemies, so I'll be able to hit both brothers at once. But the plan wasn't that straightforward. At the start of the fight, I would stay next to the door to manipulate the boss to quickly kill him in phase 1, and then do the same in phase 2, but first had to run dash roll to the side to dodge his range attacks. After they were done, I would summon Soul Mass and then open fire, and by the time they reached me, I could kill the older brother. Sadly, this would not be enough to kill the younger brother, so I just made sure to keep my distance and attack when I felt safe. It ended up taking 3 elder brother kills and 15 deaths for me to finally kill the younger brother and win this fight. Being mentally fatigued from that, I went over to Ancient Wyvern and told him hi, and then proceeded to tell Nameless King hi. Would you believe me if I told you this was one of the easiest fights in this run? I sure wouldn't if you would have told me, but stupidly enough, it was. The first phase was slightly tricky, but my god, the second phase was a cakewalk. All I had to do was stay back and shoot Crystal Soul Spear. The majority of the time, he would just keep walking towards me, not doing a single thing. A surprisingly but well accepted easy win. Also, is it just me, or with just the gloves on my character, he kind of looks like Natsu or Ryuto from Greatest Disciple Kenshi? With the base game done with, that only leaves us the DLC. And first up on the list is Gravetender, my favorite boss, as you can tell by the sound of my voice. Straight up, this fight was horse shit. The damn NPC invader just constantly dodges the spell attacks. Seriously, FromSoft, stop with the damn invader fights. They're not fun. I don't think y'all have ever pulled off a single good one. I would have much rather just fought the wolf and its pack than deal with this. Bitching aside, I knew I was going to need a different strategy besides shooting away. And lucky for me, I had one. In my previous runs, I learned that you can actually get Gravetender stuck behind one of the crystal pillars. Now, you can't hit him with normal shooting spells, but you can hit him with Pestilent Mist, which worked fine but was a bit slow, and Gravetender could get out pretty easily. So I adapted once more and got the Storyteller Staff, which has a special perk of shooting a poison cloud. So combining these two damage over time attacks, I was able to take out Gravetender. For Great Wolf though, I had to switch back to Great Heavy Soul Arrow. He was a bit too fast to use Pestilent Mist, especially with my low amount of health. Sadly, it ended up taking me 23 attempts to finally pull this off. There's probably a better strategy for this, but I could not figure it out at the time. With FromSoft's biggest regret dealt with, I leveled my intelligence to 84, failed at a speedrunner skip, found out Sir Wilhelm knows Vow of Silence and was not happy to see that, but had no issues. I then turned a wheel to fight Sister Frida. Sister Frida was the one boss in the DS3 run that chat kept telling me that it was going to be the hardest or the toughest, but that was not the case. She was actually not very hard at all. On my first attempt, I made it all the way to her third phase, and the death after that was because I wasn't paying attention and walked into Father's attack. But on lucky attempt number 3, she went down pretty quickly. First phase, just had to stay back and use Great Heavy and Crystal Soul Mass, which funny enough can find her when she's invisible. For phase 2, I made sure to have Storyteller on me to use Poison on Father to speed up the fight, and just kept a safe distance shooting at him until he died. For phase 3, I found if I stay far away from her, I could bait out her jump attack, which I could just roll under and shoot her from behind, and with those simple steps I was able to beat Sister Frida on my third attempt. After that pleasantly chill fight, I found out for the first time that there is a Hermit Merchant right at the beginning at Dredge Heap. Never noticed him before on my last 2 runs. Once done chatting with the Hermit, I ran from some evil sniper angels to fall to my death because I'm just that good. After failing for a bit, I finally made it to the Demon Prince, who, to come to find out, is the one who I should have been afraid of all along because these bad boys' sorcery resistance is a bit nuts. Especially during the second phase, my damage was halved pretty much. I also didn't realize how easy I had it before in the second phase with using melee because I usually kill the boss pretty quickly, but this time I ran into a bit of a problem. With never really having to learn its moveset, I was forced to figure it out here. For the first phase, it was straightforward, just go after the demon in pain first, and then go for demon from below, but after killing the second demon, I would cast Pestilent Mist so that when the second phase starts, the boss will start to take tick damage. So, the 2 crucial things I learned in this second phase was when you see the fireball attack, make sure to run to your right and roll before it lands to dodge it. Before this, I was trying to roll towards the attack, and it didn't work out too well. The second thing is when he does his Superman punch, just roll backwards. Another attack that I thought I could just roll forward to dodge. After learning these 2 things, it made the fight a lot easier. But the real MVP was using green blossoms to help with stamina recovery to be able to make it across the arena when the Demon Prince does his beam attack. Not too bad, right? We'll just ignore me dying 25 times and call it a first try. Sounds good? Sounds good. With the Demon Prince dead, I made my way to Orlando 2.0, used Hidden Body to sneak past everybody, to just get lost in a spiral staircase. This is what happens when you take too long of a break from a game. After finally solving the staircase puzzle, I found Midir, used a bit of mist on him, and slapped him silly, but I wasn't done with him yet. I found his scaly ass and taught him a lesson. Ignore that. Alright, I'm just going to get this out of the way. I died 18 times here. Should have been 7, but on attempt 8, I got too close to the beam attack and it ended up nipping me. But enough death talk, let's talk about how I beat this son of a bitch. Really, it was simple. Wait for him to do his beam attack in phase 1 and use pestle and mist to get some tick damage off. And after that, just shoot Crystal Soul Spear from a distance. Phase 2, on the other hand, things got a bit tricky with him running away and him doing his own homing soul mass attack. But it was still pretty much the same tactic. Wait for the beam attack to do the pestle and mist and shoot him with Crystal Spear when I had the chance. Sadly, as you can already tell, this wasn't that easy for me to execute. So I said fuck it and went full balls to walls using RTSR and every possible item I had to increase my damage. Now, this isn't the smartest play. The smart play would have been to have used Soul Stream to try and hit multiple body parts for multiple hits. But at this time, I thought it would have been too slow, so I just stuck with what I had, and after an hour of trying this crazy idea, I finally won. After beating Midir, I traded in his soul for Old Moonlight. Now, what's next on the list? Ah, yes, there was Half-Light. If you didn't think I wasn't going to cheese him after that fiasco with Midir, you are sorely mistaken. Embracing the cheese at this point, did you know you can cheese Gale? During his second phase, he can teleport, which if you walk under this building as he does it, you can get him stuck up there, allowing you to freely hit him. Now, do be careful about this because he can get out once he goes into his third phase. So, in the first phase, I just used Poison from Storyteller and Great Heavy Sorrow to get him to his second phase to do the cheese. I then used the Pestle and Mist and the Poison to help with tick damage, and then proceed to shoot him with the Crystal Soul Spear. Funny enough, at the last second he did get out, but he ended up dying from the tick damage shortly after, so I had nothing to worry about. It did take me 5 tries to pull this off, but it was worth it to show off the cheese. With that said, I finally hit 99 in intelligence, pick up Soul Stream, and place the heads of the Lords of Cinder to take on Soul of Cinder, who for once I had an easy time with. For this fight, I equipped Dark Moon Ring so that I can use Soul Stream, Great Heavy Sorrow, and most importantly, Old Moonlight. I honestly thought by doing this I would have made the fight a lot harder, but weirdly it didn't. Old Moonlight did great damage and it can be used as a melee or as a projectile. Now the projectile does do less damage, but still very useful. Then there was Soul Stream. So the reason I waited this long to use this spell was because I thought it was going to be too slow to use, but with Witch Tree Branch, it really wasn't that bad and made me regret not using it in a few other fights like Midir and Nameless. Sadly, I did not get the first try due to me not rolling soon enough, but second time was the charm. For phase 1, I used Old Moonlight to get some melee hits in during his sword phase, and when he would transform, I would use Great Heavy Soul Arrow to keep my distance for an easy kill. For phase 2, I switched to using Soul Stream and Great Heavy. Anytime Soul of Cinder would do his anime move, I would use Soul Stream to take massive amounts of HP off, and use Great Heavy to get some quick hits in. And I'm happy to say I was able to finish this run off with a Kamehameha. No better way to finish an intelligence-only trilogy run, if I do say so myself. Oh man, 3 games, 3 runs, and 1 video was a lot harder than I expected, but I did enjoy it. With that said, I would like to thank my channel supporters. If you too would like to support the channel or have your name in the video, you can click the Patreon link in the description or click the YouTube join button. I also from time to time stream my runs, so you can catch me streaming on YouTube or over on Twitch at Kakyoin Gaming. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, take care.